And I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Myke Gray. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I can't complain. So in a couple of weeks' time, the main point we were wanted to get you back on was you got your Myke Stock shows lined up over the summer, man. The 3 dates you've got lined up, they look great, already selling out well. You must be pretty happy with how they've been received, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very emotional experience for me. You know, I take playing live and everything to do with music very seriously, but the thing I take most seriously is the relationship with the fans, because they've literally stuck with me from Jagged Edge, Skin, Red, White and Blues. You know, they've been so loyal, so supportive, and basically flying against all the mainstream media. You know, my music has hardly been received with open arms through the normal outlets, but the fans have kept me going through it all. They fund the making of my music, and so it's of huge importance to me that when we play these shows, that they're potentially the best shows that we've ever done. You know, a lot of work has been put into the choosing of the set, the preparation, and making sure that the band are tight. And then, you know, you realize that you may never play these songs again. You may never see these amazing people again, and you just want to emotionally connect as much as you possibly can. And for me, just to express my gratitude to the people that have given me so much and enabled me to experience so much. You know, without the support of fans, a musician isn't really much. You know, unless your music connects with people and you get that exchange, you know, you might as well just stay in your bedroom playing away to smoke on the water. You know, and it's a relationship I take very seriously, and I don't want anyone to leave the venue disappointed, and I want everyone to sort of feel joyous, you know, and glad that they come. So I do take it very seriously.
I mean, you got some like great venues on this run, man. Obviously, you got a KK Steel Mill, which is awesome. Leo's Red Lion, I've been down there a few times. That's always a great shout. And then the Waterloo Blackpool, not been down there as yet, but obviously well respected in its field. And I hope we'll get down there for a gig. Were there reasons for choosing certain venues as such, or?
Yeah, very, very much so. You know, since I try to build good relationships with people, and I'm a very black and white person. If I think you're disrespectful in any way or you try to mess me around, then pretty much a brick wall comes down and it will never be lifted again.
Yeah.
And relationships with Tice at KK Steel Mill is something that I've had since the days of Skin. He was the promoter back then. Great relationship. Ian Fletcher up at Waterloo has always been incredibly helpful. Whenever we go there, we get incredibly well looked after. Amazing venue, amazing crowd. And so that's why I went there. And then with Steve Bukowski and Rock Cooperative, who run Leo's, I'd heard such good things. And Daniel Byrne, who's the guy who sings with us live, he plays with his band Revival Black there. And he said, you know, you really need to play there. They'd like you to come. So I had a conversation with Steve, and I got a good rapport with him. And
yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, just very respectful. And the other thing is, like, since COVID, one of the bands are always getting screwed. You know, one way or another. You know, everyone wants to screw the band, and so what the venues tried to do now was give no guarantees, which was kind of like, well, we'll just do you a split on the door, and you know, and it's impossible to book a tour like that.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how much you can spend on hotels, how much you can spend on vans, petrol, and all of it. You need a budget to work with, and a lot of the venues were not prepared to do that. And so the venues that we went to took a chance and basically said, yeah, we'll give you a guarantee, which enables the tour to go ahead. So there is very clear reasons why I chose the venues that we're going to. And it's just, they're good guys, and they were, you know, they believed in me, and they promoted it, and they've done a great job.
They have. I mean, I know the guys at the Rock Cooperative relatively well myself, just through, you know, the scene and my own festival. And they've always been big supporters of live music. I mean, they organised a bus trip from Gravesend up to Bury St Edmunds last year for my show, which I'm, you know, always thankful for the fact that there's no egos with them. They go and support other shows, and it's all about the community, which is really cool. And then, like, during lockdown, they every loophole, every thing they jumped over and jumped through to put on a show, and I just got to take my hats off to them over there, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, when I met them in person, I did a charity event for them,
All right.
for Ukraine, and I went along with Daniel, and we played some acoustic songs.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and you only have to be in their company for 60 seconds, and you realize they're very honourable people. And so it's infectious, right? You want to work with good people.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was total respect to them.
So are these going to be your last shows for a while, do you think? Or obviously, I know you know your wife's back in the States and everything. So
yeah, I mean, like everything I do, I take everything very seriously. And you know, moving over to the US, and you know, when you get married, it's a huge commitment, and the transition to the US is a long process, because you have to get all your visa and your green card. I would be selling my house, and then you have to start a new life where you have to, you know, find revenue and build a career and all that sort of stuff that goes with it. And it's fundamental to me moving over to the US. I don't take getting married lightly, and I know my role within the family unit, sort of thing, you know. And me playing guitar at 6 o'clock in the morning, writing songs, it's not sort of conducive to a happy life. You know, you become a team. So, and then it becomes the cost of traveling from the US to the UK. You know, an aeroplane ticket can easily be 1,500 quid. You know, so if you're going to do a show in the UK, you have to factor all of these things into the costs. You know, so I think the opportunities to play will be very limited. I'm not going to say that I won't ever play again, because you just never know in life. But I just think the opportunities will be tough, and we're preparing for these shows as if they are the final shows.
I mean, like you're saying, you're preparing them for them as if they are going to be the last ones you do, or certainly for the foreseeable. You're going across your career from like Skin and Jagged Edge and Red, White and Blues and Schism and obviously Shades of Grey as well. Are you doing different sets per day, or have you got like sort of your
it'll be the same. It'll be the same set each day. It's a long set.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we're playing like over 25 songs.
Wow.
And it's tough to get everything in there, and also build it in a way, you know, because writing a set, there's an art to it. You know, making sure that it climaxes to the, you know, to the end, and that everyone leaves happy. And normally it takes about two or three gigs to get it sussed right, but we don't have that luxury. We have to get it right out of the gate. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Skin songs, Red, White and Blues. They're all in there, and a few surprises, some songs that never got played live, you know, and a few little twists and turns. So we're very excited about it, and we're sort of looking forward to doing them and making them as good as they can be.
The last time I saw you was when you did the Total Rock show down at the Nambucca tail end of last year. Is it the same band you got with Danny and Colin and everyone?
Yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate. It took a while to get this lineup. I think 18 different musicians, but this has been quite solid now for over a year, which for me is good. Yeah, it's Daniel on vocals, Colin on bass, Neil Ogden on drums, Glenn Quinn on guitar, and I'm very honored to have them, because they're fantastic musicians. But on top of that, they're fantastic people. Yeah, you know, which is half the battle with a lot of bands. You know, because when you get people in the van and you have to drive around, that's when you know if you really sort of get on with people. And these are great guys, and I really could not have been. I'm so grateful that these shows are going to be performed by these musicians.
Were there any songs that from your back catalogue that the guys were suggesting that you didn't think of, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, left to his own devices, Neil would have us play the entire Jagged Edge album from beginning to end. He always tells me the only reason he plays is because he loves Jagged Edge so much. So the longer Neil was in the band, the more Jagged Edge songs seem to appear in the set. You know, so he is very responsible for that. But you know, it's also like for Daniel, you know, a lot of these songs were written before he was born.
Yeah.
You know, so for him, he's coming in, he's like, oh wow, I just didn't even know who Jagged Edge was. You know, so it's a challenge for him because they're not the easiest songs in the world to sing.
No.
And I was very blessed to work with Neville MacDonald and Matty Alfonsetti, two of the greatest singers in the world. And of course, you're writing songs for particular singers. And it wouldn't be particularly easy for Matty to sing a Skin song, and vice versa. It wouldn't be particularly easy for Neville to sing a Jagged Edge song because they have ranges. They're very different.
Yeah, different style of singers and everything else.
Exactly. Matty's voice is much lower, you know, but Nev, you know, obviously he could hit those high notes, which very few people could. But Daniel, to his great credit, is able to sort of do both of them. And incredibly well. So, which is a remarkable achievement for someone so young, because both of those other singers were much older when they recorded those songs and they had all of that experience. Whereas Daniel was going for it like in his early 20s, and it was, you know, I'm watching someone turn into a great singer, which is a great thing. A great thing to watch, and he's also a very lovely human being. So you know, it's another joy to all of this because you know, you get to work with the new talent that's coming through, and I have no doubt that Daniel within the next few years is going to transcend to much higher levels.
It seems like every time I see Daniel perform, whether it's been, you know, with Revival Black or with yourself, he just seems to grow every time I see him. Every time I see him, he seems to be that bit more confident in himself, that bit more refined's not the right term, but knows who he is a bit more, maybe.
I think what you're seeing happens in a lot of spheres, realms. It's like footballers. You know, it's like when you work with people of a certain standard, you either rise to it or you get left behind. You know, and obviously the guys, we're all a lot older than Daniel. You know, and we've had a lot of experience, but he's just basically seized the bull by the horns, and he's with every performance he's learning fast and becoming like a showman as well as a great singer. So I expect Daniel to transcend all of us. To be honest with you, I expect him to be headlining festivals very, very soon.
Well, I don't know who had a bigger smile on their face when I saw you and Booker, mate, Daniel, or the rest of the crowd, because he was seemingly enjoying every single moment of it just as much as we were. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like, when I got the invitation to play for UFO, I'd played in lots and lots of bands beforehand, and we played at the Marquee, and you think you're doing great, and then all of a sudden you're thrown in with Phil Mogg, you know, this guy who's toured the world, and you all of a sudden realize I've got to up my game here, you know, and it basically sets new precedent of what is acceptable. And I think with Daniel, it's the same things happening. You know, not that I'm putting myself into the same caliber as Phil Mogg, but he's sort of going, right, I can do this, and opens the door, and it allows him to go a little bit higher up the staircase. You know, but I have absolutely no doubt that Daniel will go on to be a world-class singer, and I think without doubt he's the jewel in the new singers that are coming up through the UK. You know, he has very distinctive voice, and he has charisma, and yeah, I think he'll do very well.
I think the whole band will. I mean, I know Daniel quite well, and I've been fortunate enough to hear the Revival Black album sort of ahead of release, because I've been doing promo for them as well, and that record is gonna, if that doesn't make waves, I don't know what will. It's one hell of a record.
They're a great band, you know, so I expect only good things from them.
And speaking of great bands on the rising side of things, you got Ash and Reach opening up for these shows. They're another band I really like that climb through the ranks.
Yeah, another great singer. So my ear is always open to singers, you know. Someone sent me a video. It was actually Richard Brindley from New Wave of Classics.
Oh yeah, Rich.
And it was Richard who brought Ash and Reach to my attention. And as soon as I heard Carl's voice, I was kind of like, wow, that's a special voice. and so I reached out to him very, very soon and asked him if he would do the shows, and if they would do the shows, and they agreed. So it's always, you know, to have the young talent, the young blood coming through. It's always been the way of the music industry, right? You know,
Oh, yeah.
you help the younger acts come through, and they learn, and they're the new wave.
I think this was one of the things I sort of want to say is, you know, there's a really good, obviously, emerging rock scene through things, but although, like, you know, you've been around for a while with Skin and Jagged Edge and everything, it feels like the Shades of Grey project is very much a part of that new scene. I mean, you had a great article in Emerging Rock Band magazine, which I'll go over here, that came out like this month. It seems that there's a very much a lineage to yourself, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice, you know. I mean, it's always been a struggle, getting the media on side. You know, Jagged Edge were generally hated by the UK media. The US media were much more open to us. Skin were equally despised by the Kerrang and the various other magazines. But this time around, and I think a lot of that's to do with journalism has changed.
Hmm.
You know, I think back in the 80s and 90s, the journalists used to take great pleasure out of trying to destroy careers. But I think now, you know, because magazines don't have the power that they once had,
Yeah.
you know, they have to be a little bit smarter with how they treat artists and bands, you know, because artists can generally reach their fan bases directly through their own social media. You know, we don't have to have, we're not as reliant upon 3 magazines as we once were.
Yeah.
You know, we have much more control over our own career. We can just put our own music out. We can have our own YouTube channels, you know, and I think it's a very positive thing that musicians now have much more control. Because back in the day, if Kerrang, Metal Hammer and Raw didn't like you, your career was over.
Yeah.
But now you can transcend all of that, which I think is only a good thing.
That's cool, man. And you were saying, obviously, earlier you were talking about finishing off the second Shades of Grey album. How's that all coming along? Have you got a sort of end date easier in mind? I know you've obviously released a couple singles from it so far.
I mean, the way that I do Shades of Grey is I release every track one at a time. The fans fund the making of the project. We've done 50% of the album in pre-orders. I only print 1,000 copies, and I'm very humbled by the support. It normally takes me somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks per song. I could bore you with why it takes that long, but when you're doing everything yourself,
Yeah.
the process just gets longer. And obviously I have other things, the shows and all the other bits and pieces I have to do, because I do have to oversee all of it. But I'm just, hopefully by the end of tonight, the 4th song will be finished. Andy Sneap, who does all the mastering, he's currently on tour with Judas Priest.
Yeah.
And he comes back to the UK on August the 12th. And so I'll send it to him, and hopefully I'll get it out fairly soon. And then I was
involved in the last album, or did I get that wrong?
No, Andy mastered 2021.
Yeah.
He also mastered my instrumental album. We've been friends for decades, and I'm very, very lucky that he agrees to master my album. So yeah, you know, you're not going to say no, really, are you?
No, not to Andy Sneap, no. So you've got the album on its way anyway, and you've got the singles coming forward as such.
Yeah. Each time one is finished, it normally gets released within a week or so, you know, and then the album, because the way I see it, I've got 10 opportunities for someone to buy my album, you know, so this is track 4, and so I release it, and hopefully it serves as a catalyst for people to pre-order the album, and then when all 10 are finished, they get put together and they get sent out. You know, it's a quite unique way of doing it. I don't know many artists that do it like that, but it's a way of always keeping the project alive, you know, and then it has almost like 18 months worth of coverage on social media, because a lot of bands, they spend, you know, months recording their album, they stick it out, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Within 6 weeks, and everyone moves on to the next thing, you know. But the way that I'm doing it gives it more longevity, and I'm very thankful that I have fans that are prepared to pre-order an album knowing that they may not get it for a year.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm very, very thankful for that.
I mean, what I liked about when you released, you know, the first Shades of Grey album was like exactly what you're saying. You had that support all the way through the singles. Every time the single got released, you know, I was seeing other fans as well sharing it, posting it about it. And then when the album came out, although they'd heard all the tracks, they were just as excited to get that physical format of it,
Yeah,
even though they needed songs. It was great to see that support.
yeah. I'm old school. I still like the idea of holding an album and
Yeah, I do.
holding a CD and open. I remember as a kid, you know, you used to go into shops and they were like magical tombs, you know, that like
Mm.
they, you know, it's almost like a religious artifact, you know, and I'm a big fan of still having that physical connection to music.
I definitely, I'm the same. I mean, I don't know how many times, you know, albums I bought as a teenager based on the album cover alone. You know, just going in and hearing the name of a band and just looking at something and go, oh, this looks cool. I'm going to buy this, and not even knowing what it sounded like till I got home. You know.
And the classic one for me was Kiss Alive 2. I mean, I remember for months I would go into WH Smith's
Mm.
and pick up this album cover and just look
Yeah.
at the sleeve and the inside. Never heard who they were, but it was kind of like this. How can anything look as good as this? You know. I think it's just something that's in the DNA of music fans.
I think
You know,
so.
it's just something special.
I think so. I remember being, you know, a small child and flicking through my dad's vinyl and pulling out the one that always comes to mind is pulling out Sabbath's album, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and just seeing this like
Amazing album
oh,
cover.
it's my favorite Sabbath album to this day. It was
Incredible cover.
you know, and I just remember just opening up and looking. I was about 8 or 9, and I'm looking at the cover and I'm like, what on earth is this? And I remember my dad going, it's Black Sabbath, mate. And I'd heard, you know, Paranoid and, you know, Fairies Wear Boots or whatever around the house. But that was the first album that I remember sitting down and listening to the whole thing from start to finish.
Amazing riff to that.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing. It's one of his greatest.
Oh, right. And I think my mum was a bit horrified that my dad was playing this and with the album cover onto to their 9-year-old son, but I didn't mind.
You turned out all right.
Yeah, I didn't do too bad.
Exactly.
Of course, along with the live shows, where you're at Steelhouse Festival this year as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the catalyst to it all, really, because I hadn't intended to play any shows in this year.
Okay.
But the offer came through from Mikey Evans and Max Reed, and they said, would you be interested in playing? I spoke to my band, and everyone wanted to do it. I actually played at the first Steelhouse Festival, so okay. I have quite a strong emotional connection to it. And then, of course, we haven't played a show as a band since December of last year, you know, and just to pitch up to a festival, you know, unrehearsed, and you know, that's not in my DNA to do that. No. So that's when the concept of Myke Stock came about, and so we're doing the 3 headline shows, but initially they served as the catalyst to get us in the right, you know, match fit for Steelhouse. You know, so it's a nice way to sign off. And if it is my last show in the UK, then it's at a great festival, great audience, and you know, to a very, you know, very loyal and strong fan base. So hopefully it's a very magical day. Hopefully it won't rain, and everyone will have a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the Steelhouse lineup because obviously they released their set times earlier today, and you played on the Friday. I mean, the Friday alone. I mean, you got Glorious Headline and yourselves, Dust Coders, Scarlet Rebels, Kira Mac, Hot Damn Valhalla Waits. I mean, that's a day in itself, and that's without, you know, Saturday Sunday's lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a great lineup, and when you look at the, you know, the people that are playing, you can only feel humbled that you're part of it.
Mm.
So obviously one of my childhood heroes, Michael Schenker, is up there. You know, I was honored to be asked to play in UFO, and he's one of my 3 heroes. You know, so it's a big deal, you know, as a guitar player to be around your heroes. You know, it's something that always makes you feel like a 12-year-old again. you know, but we are going on that stage to win. We're not there to make up the numbers, you know. So we will give it everything we got.
I don't think anyone who's ever seen you live could accuse you of just making up the numbers, Myke.
Yeah, it's life or death for me. So you know, we'll be giving it all our heart.
It was like when, like I was saying, last time I saw you, like I mentioned earlier, was at Booker, and it was a great lineup. You had like bands like Sweet Crisis on there and Dead Man's Whiskey, who I know very well, and these Wicked Rivers Boys, and it was a great lineup, and the whole thing was like up here. And then obviously you guys were headlining it, and you think, naturally, you think as an audience member, you think, all right, where's this headliner going to take it? Because it's already up here. And it's no disrespect to anyone that's on the bill. I know a lot of bands, fan of most of them. That's why it was a great night out for me, you know. But there was a visible shifting gear, I think, when you guys came on.
Well, it makes me happy to hear that, you know, but it is the intention, you know. I've ever since the age of 12, this is my calling. You know, I think about music all day long. I take it very seriously, and you know, I just want to always play my best. You know, I remember watching an interview with Michael Jordan, where he basically said that he gave his all in every game, because there may be someone who's only never seen him before, yeah. And it may be the only chance that they get, and they didn't want them walking out of the venue thinking, "Hey, he ain't that good."
Yeah.
And I'm kind of the same mentality. If I'm gonna play, then it's for real. Otherwise, I don't play at all or nothing, 100% or nothing.
So, what would you say to anyone who's listening who maybe hasn't bought the tickets yet? They're thinking about it.
Well, just know that if you are prepared to buy a ticket, you're going to be coming to see 5 musicians that are going to give everything they possibly can to make it special. And you know, you come along, you may be surprised. There won't be any backing tapes. There won't be any backing tapes, and we won't be relying on fireworks to make something special.
I can wonder who you could mean. Oh, man. As always, it's been great to chat to you, Myke, mate. At the beginning of the interview, I'm going to play House of Love. But what song of yours would you like us to play at the end of your interview?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of songs that have been very important to me over the years, but I would probably say that that I Get Up is by Shades of Grey is important to me, because it's the first song that I recorded where I sang the lead vocal. I've spent my whole career writing songs for other people, and it was the first time that I wrote a song for myself with the intention of me singing it. And to my huge surprise, it wasn't brushed under the carpet or dismissed, and people seemed to like it, and they liked it enough to make an album. So that's, for me, that's like a big catalyst song in my career. So I'll choose I Get Up by Shades of Grey.
Okay, mate. Well, we'll end the interview on that. Thanks for your time, man. It's always great to talk to you.
Absolute pleasure, brother.
Cheers, man.